Today, we've got a fun episode. I got the opportunity to meet this gentleman recently. We became friends. At least I think so. I'll check on that as we're doing the interview, if we actually are friends. But we became friends, found out what he did for a living. I had no idea. And I was like, well, that's very symbiotic. And I'd like to learn more. And I think that my listeners would like to learn more. Today, we're going to be talking about some real estate stuff. And we're going to be talking about some health and wellness stuff as well, because he's really, really sexy and good to look at.
Thanks, buddy.
And also has done a lot in the real estate world. Hey, everybody. I'm Eric Obrempt, and you're listening to Be Authentic or Get the Fuck Out. We talk about real shit, what's on our minds, and don't give a fuck if it makes you feel a little uncomfortable. So sit back, strap in, and get ready for some real shit. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Be Authentic or Get the Fuck Out. I'm your host. Looking forward to this episode. This is going to be exciting. Here's a new thing we get to do every week. Brought to you by our title sponsor, SMA Support Services. If you don't know what SMA Support Services is, you're missing out. An amazing VA company where if you need back-end support, you need people on the phones. They specialize in the construction industry, but I'm sure I can talk them into, working with somebody else outside of it. But they're dialed in to the roofing industry and construction industry, where they will support you in anything that you need, back end, front end, as long as they don't need to be in the field. SMA's got you. They have management of those people. Reach out to me if you have any questions. And if you haven't watched it already, we'll have the two interviews with the owner of SMA and Adam Patterson, who runs the whole thing. So brought to you by SMA Support Services. All right, today I want to introduce my guest today, Collin Schwartz, right? I said
yes,
that right?
Sir.
Okay,
yes,
Collin. Nice. Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. This is awesome. Kick-ass studio, dude.
Thank you. Yeah.
I also like the number of F-bombs already so that I won't hit my quota. I can just be on top of it.
We had a guy on while I was at RoofCon, and there was a running bet of who was going to more. Who was going to drop more?
Did you guys have an over/under?
So we did. Like, there were some people that put wagers out.
Okay.
And what was funny about it was that it ended up being one of the least. Like, not on purpose.
What was wrong?
I don't know.
Okay.
It just was natural.
Too many people around?
No.
Okay.
I definitely give zero about that.
All right.
It was really.
Yeah, we're gonna tear this shit up today,
Yes, we are. So tell everybody real quick what you do now, and then I like to go back and kind of go backstory. And I like to go through kind of some trials and tribulations that you might have went through.
Absolutely.
Some shit that made it really hard. And maybe when you were about ready to go burn the whole fucking thing down, I'm out.
What, about 45 minutes ago? We want to go back there?
Yeah. Fucking elevators.
Yeah.
But yeah, tell everybody what you do right now.
Cool. Yeah. So I own me and a business partner, Chris Pomerlew, own a real estate investment company. It's basically a private equity. We take investors' capital, we reinvest it into multifamily assets, typically pre-existing. We go in, fix those assets up, increase the value, refinance their capital back out. So that's the main business. We've got about 300 million in assets, 3,000 doors in 7 different states. Also have a lending company called Liquid Lending Solutions. We lend to home flippers, people who are doing the BRRRR method, which is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So that's a way for investors. You go into a project, you add the value, you pull out your capital. So it's high interest loans, but 100% financing. So I've been doing that for 4 years. The real estate side, about 7.5. Just started a tree removal business. So that's fun. And I've had quite a few other businesses. I also run a real estate meetup group in the area. So we have a Facebook group that's got about 6,000 members and, get regular attendance of about, 100 or so members. It's Omaha Real Estate Meetup.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. We've taken a little break from it. I think what I found, lots of people try to keep doing the same thing over and over again. When I originally started the group, I created something a little bit different. And now that different product is now very similar to people's other products. And it's also kind of not aligning to where I want to be. I want a little bit more actionable takeaways from the group. So I'm going through kind of a revamping of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the first thing, because this interests me. I've had one other guy on here when I was at D2D-Con, and he was part of a group that was doing a similar thing as you, but I'll be honest, like, he didn't explain it very well.
Okay.
Right? I feel like you're a good explainer.
Yeah, we'll see.
Right?
Ask my wife. She'll say I'm horrible at it.
Does she say that, or that you're a bad listener?
Oh, what?
I feel like it's more that than it is explaining. Because if there's so many places I could go with that. I think that she just doesn't understand you.
Yeah, no.
She just isn't.
I think the bad thing is she does, and it's, like a dog that she's told 1,000 times, or she's like, just,
Good point.
Good point. All right. You know where the outside, where the doggy door is.
That's fair. So on the investment side, so pretend it's me.
Yep.
Right. You come to me and you're like, hey, you got an extra $500,000 laying around.
Yep.
Right. And I say, well, fuck, I just happen to have an extra $500,000 laying around.
I saw it under the bed in there.
What can we do with it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell me because I know that there's people out there that, like, there's people watching this that have big fucking roofing companies. Right. And they're like, I just made all this fucking money. Maybe I should just go buy some properties. Right.
Yep.
So tell me why it may or may not be a better idea to be like, hey, let's work together, because I'll make you some fucking money while I can make money at the same time, blah, 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 instead of you going and taking that risk of maybe you don't really know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the problem we're solving for. So to your point, we work with a lot of high net worth individuals. Typically, these people are accredited. So lots of doctors, that means they make over $200,000 a year individually, or worth over $1 million. Or if they're married, they make over $300,000 a year.
You like working with doctors?
So I handle more of the operations side.
Okay,
I'm not really on the capital
fucking
raising side.
doctors and like engineers drive me fucking crazy.
They I actually ran into one of them at the Korn concert. So he's one of my
Really?
orthos. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's cool.
It was funny. We actually didn't recognize each other at first. And I was like, oh shit, you're an investor of ours. The guy's invested quite a bit of capital. But kind of where you were going with this is, people hear about real estate, really sexy, most millionaires. I don't know if this is true, but 90% of millionaires became a millionaire because of real estate. But there's a lot of headaches that come with it. One, you're signing on debt, you're managing tenants, toilets, fires, tornadoes, all those types of things. What we do is, since this is and when I say we, it's me and my business partner and my team.
It's you, Collin.
It's just
you,
me, guys.
Fucking do all of it.
It's just me.
It's just Collin, everybody.
No.
It's the Collin show. That's what he just said, everyone.
You can surmise whatever you would like out of this, but no, it's a team sport. It certainly is. But so we basically reduce that risk for them. So you want a $10 million apartment complex. Well, typically that's going to take $2.5 million of your own capital.
Right.
Okay, so not everybody has that or wants to put all their eggs in one basket. Well, with what we offer, you can put in chunks of $100,000. You become a limited partner into the project, and you get residual returns off of the upside of it. So we, as the owners, we take on signing of the debt. That means we personally guarantee that. So if something does go default, failure, anything, which it hasn't happened, ever. We haven't lost money on any projects, but if that does happen, the fault lies on us. And then the operations, managing the tenants, residents, managing the contractors. Lots of these projects are heavy value add. So there's a term called forced appreciation. So natural appreciation is based on the market. So 10 years from now, we assume with inflation that real estate's going to be worth more. That means you sit around, you wait, and your value of your dollar decreases, but the value of assets increase. Yep. But for this, we're forcing appreciation. And what is surprising when I first got into this is lots of old apartment owners ran this as more of a cash business. So they just looked at the cash at the end of the month. They weren't too concerned with fixing up the properties, taking care of the residents. Well, we run it like a business because properties are valued on the net operating income. Net operating income, just like in business, the EBITDA, you have a multiple of it. So what we focus on is increasing the rents. How do we do that? We fix up the properties. We take care of our residents. We reduce expenses. Overall, you can take a property that was making $100,000 a year NOI, you can double that. Well, now that's doubled the value. But since you're leveraged into this, that's basically a 4 to 5x return on your equity. So we're basically the stewards of those investors' capital to go in. We identify these projects. We probably look through, 50 to 100 projects, and out of those, we'll pick one of them that we're going to invest in. We focus in concentrated areas. I know we're in 7 states now, but they all have basically similar fundamentals. The Midwest. I like the Midwest. You're not going to have that natural appreciation. You're not going to have those big bubbles that you're going to have on the coast, but you're also not going to have those bigoted downswings. You're also going to have cash flow on the coast. You can't find it in the Midwest. You can go into these projects and you're getting 5, 7, 10, 12% cash on cash return. So we focus on day one cash flowing assets that we can pay our investors a return on. It's called a preferred return. It's not guaranteed, but typically it's 7%. So the first 7% goes to the investor. After that, it's split between the general partner, which is myself and my partner. And then from there on, it's split at a certain percentage, typically 70% to the limited partner, 30% to the general partner. So we don't get paid until the limited partner gets paid. What is one of the biggest advantages of real estate, and I heard a guy, Ken McElroy, he's got about $3 billion in assets. He's part of the rich dad, poor dad family, Robert Kiyosaki. He basically runs all the investment side. And I really like what he said is it's really hard to predict in 10 years what the actual return is going to be. But there are things that you can predict, and you should be able to get to a near science, which is what are your tax write-offs? What are your tax write-offs going to be? Lots of people in your industry are high net worth individuals. They have a tax problem. Real estate has a ton of items that you can write off on taxes. So that's the first thing we focus on.
So can I, as an investor with you?
Yes, you can. So this is where I'd love for our in-house CPA to be on. So those go towards your passive returns. Now for myself, since I work 750 hours in the business, I'm considered a real estate professional. So that can apply, those tax write-offs can apply to all of my income. If your wife, if she was a real estate agent, you guys could apply all those tax write-offs. Otherwise, you could apply it at the entity level or the project level. So
what you're saying is if I start investing money with you, I should make Natalie a fucking real estate agent. It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. She doesn't have to actually do anything. She doesn't have to sell a house.
Well, I think you need to talk to your CPA about that. Okay. But yeah, you need to put 750 hours into the business. But basically, if you were to make $10,000, say you put in, and these are just random numbers, you invest $100,000, say you get 10% return. That's a really good return for the first year. That doesn't typically happen, but say you do. So you're making $10,000 of income. Well, through cost segregation studies accelerates the depreciation. So typically depreciation is on a 7, 10, 15 year time frame. The building's 27 years, but you can condense it all and take it. Used to be able to take 100%. Now it's 60% the first year. We'll see if the new Trump administration, if it goes back up to 100%. But currently in 2024, you can take 60% of that. So you may get allocated towards you $6,000 write-off. So it's going to show you made $4,000 from this actual asset, and you're going to be taxed on $4,000.
Okay, so you get in a hypothetical where you got a 10% return, which is aggressive. But if you get a 10% return, I invest $100,000 with you. I have the possibility of bringing in $10,000 a year. Right, in residual. Right, and then in that theory, then I would only be taxed on $4,000 for each year, or just that first year?
Just that first year, but going forward, there's still a ton of tax write-offs that occur throughout the entire process.
So then down the road, though, after you guys fix them up, raise the rents, do all the shit, then you sell them and I get a big return?
Yeah, so that's different with our model. So we do sell assets. We've sold many, but our goal is to build wealth, long-term wealth. And the way to build long-term wealth is to hold on to assets for as long as possible and avoid that tax bill. Now, at some point, all your write-offs are going to diminish, et cetera. But the goal is
that the time to sell them?
It's once again, talk to your CPA. You know, if it's gone up enough, what I think of is, what are you going to do with the cash? And if you have a better place to put the cash, so lots of times what we'll do is, you know, if we do sell an asset, we'll have another asset lined up so we can take advantage of this again. I know there's 1031s, but when you actually invest into one of these syndications, at least when I was at 100% depreciation, now it's at 60%, you're getting, you're getting 60% of what you would get if you were to 1031. Once again, the math's getting a little wonky right here. But our goal is hold on these assets forever. And how we're trying to, and what we've done, 63 times now is what we call full cycle, is we have done a full cash out refinance. A refinance, once we've increased the value, the building was worth $5 million. Now it's worth $8 million. We're refinancing. We're returning the investor's original principal tax free, because it's still debt. It's still debt on the property. Because now you're going through a new lender, or maybe the same lender. You've increased the value, so you're taking on a new note to pay off the old note. That excess amount, say there's $2 million there, that goes back to pay the original investors. So they should have a full return of their capital, pretty close. Sometimes it's 50%, sometimes it's 100%, sometimes you get 200% back, but that's tax free because it's still debt. You can do whatever you want with that money. You can go buy a boat, a car, a house, or you can reinvest it into another deal.
Am I still invested in that current deal?
And you're still invested into the current project. Got it. Yes. So you're still invested into the current project. So that's really the magic of it. That's how I was able to start off with a home equity line of credit on myself and build a $300 million portfolio. Right. It was from doing this model over and over and over again. And I did it originally with my portfolio. So that's one of the keys. It's long-term wealth, and you're still cash flowing. Plus, this is now you've refinanced. So now you've increased your overall debt on the project, but in the same hand, the income has increased as well. So now you have more income coming in, so you should still have a hefty return from it, because you're going to have returns, because that's why the project's valued so much more. So, or maybe you run across better debt, so you're improving that. So yeah, those are the main things. I mean, the 4 pillars of real estate, how you make money, is you get your tax benefits, depreciation, appreciation, cash flow, and equity buildup or debt pay down from the residents. The residents are paying off your mortgage. Right. So eventually you can own them outright. However, I believe in leverage and good debt, as long as it's surrounded by a cash flowing asset. I'm not talking about rack it up and buy a bunch of new Ferraris, boats, etc. Those things, that's to your discretion. But as long as the debt is self-sustaining and paying for itself, I mean, that's really what throws fuel on the fire, so you can purchase more and more of these assets and continue. So me as an investor, because most of the people watching and listening are going to be on the side of investing with somebody like you, I'll make my real money on it when you do the refinance. Yes. Yep. Right. Yep. And so, I mean, because if you didn't do the refinance, it's going to take me 10 years to get my 100,000 back. Yeah. Right? It'll take 5, 7, 10 years, whatever that looks like. Because over time, once again, rents typically increase, so your returns are going to increase. But yeah, we're always looking for that capital event. Lots of others. This is called syndication. A syndication is when you pool groups of investors together. So it's SEC regulated. It's a 506C. So we have to fill out all the documents. We are registered. But we don't want to have that big taxable event. That's why we're not looking at turning and burning and selling these things. But it's not a big taxable event if you're doing the refinance. There's no taxation. But that's where me as an investor would make my chunk. Exactly. Is when you do the reinvest, it's almost like you were selling it. Exactly. But then you still have your equity there. So say we want to go sell it. You sell it, and then you get another chunk back. Right. And so what's your usual timeline on hoping to be able to do your investment thing? 4 or 5 years? Yeah. So yes. And I know it's not a sign. So we do plug in. It's 3 to 7 years is what we typically tell our investors. Now, when I started this, we were turning and burning these things in 12 to 18 months. Somebody put in their capital, they'd have 100% of their capital back. That was also a great period in time in history when interest rates were low. We were seeing a ton of appreciation. So real estate values were increasing heavily, rents were increasing. So things have just changed a little bit to change that dynamic. Things have changed, and it's really an operator's market right now. I mean, what I've seen in the past couple of years, and operator being the property manager and the person who operates. So I originally started in property management. I don't know if it's because I'm stupid or I like really hard things. But I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Yeah, but what I found it's to be the most crucial thing. So we own our operating business. We do have some properties that are third party managed, but we have an asset management team that oversees that. And plus we have a large management background to oversee those things. But for anybody that's looking to invest, and once again, I am the worst person at pitching my business. I just want to educate people and make sure they don't lose money. But focusing on their operational strength. A good market can make a dummy look like a genius.
Right.
A market like this, it is a lot tougher. Buyer or seller's expectations of pricing hasn't really, it's gone down. It's finally started to go down, but still with the hike in interest rates and just overall flattening, rents in our markets have still increased, but some markets have decreased or stayed flat. Occupancies, trickled a little bit downwards, low 90s. You have to be able to operate really well. So and I know you weren't asking about this, but when I started, since I used to work at every job I've done, I've been in a management position. Every single one. I don't know why, but that's just kind of where I gravitate towards. And I found that management, one, I identified that nobody wants to do it. It's the biggest complaint, and it's an absolute necessity at all points. So when I started this business, I started off, buying my own assets or with partners. I set up a management company for that framework of knowing that anybody can go out there and raise money. Anybody has a rich uncle can do that. Anybody can find a deal. And I'm not saying those things are easy, but if you cannot operate, I'm sure you know this in your world, like when the market's good, you can make money being an idiot.
Yep.
When the market's not, you just have to be incredibly strong on your systems, the people and the processes that you have in place. And once again, everybody thought I was crazy at first because I had a job in IT and I did not like it. I thought I was going to die there, and I saw people die there, and I realized I had to make a change. But I also knew that starting an operational business and in real estate, there wasn't a lot to lose there. I mean,
and when was that epiphany when you were in the IT and got out?
Yeah, you mind if I just tell you a little story of how
I fucking love stories.
Okay, cool. So, this story starts January 1st, 2017. I was on vacation with my wife. And I actually just started telling this part recently. I never said it just because it was a little awkward, brings back some emotions. But I'm sitting at lunch with her. We're in Canada. We're on vacation, and she just looks at me, and I don't know. And time kind of makes memories a little fuzzy. But she just looks at me, and she's like, "Collin, you just keep talking about wanting to change, but you're just not changing." And I'm like, what the fuck is your problem? Like we're on vacation. We've got a nice house, like cars, like we weren't doing great by any means because now I know the different world. But I'm like,
right.
It's a pretty decent life. But also internally, I'm like, I am kind of frustrated. Well, I'm stewing on this for like 6 hours. I'm like, I'm fucking pissed. And I'm like, you know what happens if you're pissed about what somebody says to you? It's because they're right.
They're true. Yeah.
Yeah. They're living in your head a truth. Like that truth is reality. And I'm sitting there just fucking stewing. So what does the person do? They get on Facebook. I get on Facebook. I see an old classmate who I came from a school with a 50% graduation rate in Belen, New Mexico. Yeah. Rough, drugs, gangs, not the best, upbringing, not the best environment to be in. But this one classmate of mine, he was a senior when I was a freshman, went off to start a successful law firm in Miami. And he wrote down his 10 top books. One of them was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I was like, I've heard of this book. It sounds really stupid, but I'm going to pick it up. Well, have you read the book?
Yep.
Yeah, read the book. I got halfway through it in one night. And I remember sitting up in my room and just banging my head up against the wall. Like, what the hell am I doing with my life? Like passive income. Like I thought you had to invent an app, be incredibly intelligent or inherit it, or just work a corporate career to get a high 6-figure job to get there. Anyways, I get back to my job on January 4th, flew back January 4th, also happens to be my birthday. My boss, which was a good friend of mine, my workout partner, actually got me into CrossFit. He calls me into his office and he's like, Collin, hey man, that time you took off, that was unpaid time off. I was like, yeah, I realized that. Like it was unpaid time off. I had a little consulting gig on the side to make some extra bucks. I was like, I realize that, but I still want to take vacation. He's like, yeah, but since you switched departments, they don't allow that here. So you're out of time off and you can't take any unpaid time. I was like, that's 9 months until I get any more paid time off. And I'm about to have my second child. No. And I looked at him, I said, something's going to change. No less than an hour later, I see a group of my team that I managed around another guy's desk who was 30 years my senior. He has a countdown clock. It says 1,000 days. 1,000 days until he retired, and everybody's cheering. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And I mean, this kind of chokes me up right now. All I could think about is in 3 years from now, my son's going to be 4. I'm going to have a 3-year-old daughter. And everybody on my floor would press a button to skip forward 3 years to get to retirement. I was like, I got to make a change. I was like, it burned into me. It took me over. And that moment, like I switched a gear. I was not the same person after that day. So I started self-educating, reading, and I did every single thing the book said. I realized I had equity in my house that was just sitting there, not making me a return. I started talking to real estate agents. I didn't take a lunch break for a year. Started talking to every single person I could. Nobody gave me the time of day. So I said, fuck it, I'm going to do it myself. I hand wrote 191 letters. I figured out how to get a list of off-market individuals who owned multifamily that wasn't their primary residence. I sent out those 191 letters. I hand wrote them on a weekend, beer in one hand, child in the other. I was like, I'm going to do it myself. Sure enough, my phone started buzzing. I got 6 deals off of that. And that's kind of what started it. So
wow.
Yeah.
So that was in 17.
That was in 17.
That's not that long ago.
A year later, in February, I had quit my job. And it was funny. I quit my job.
So you kept that job?
I kept that job for a year. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I need to pay bills. I had no money coming in. I had no clue what I was doing. I did not come from an entrepreneurial background. I mean, I had a couple grand in my bank account. I had $100,000 in equity, but I had no money. I had a little bit in retirement, but like no real money. Like, I mean, I was living
So how'd you do 6 deals on $100,000 in fucking equity?
Okay. So, that goes back to there's so many creative ways. So this is what I think is a big conundrum with people just in life in general. They're given a script and they follow the script. I would advise everybody out there to think of the possibilities of what you can do and the ways you can manipulate things to work in your favor. So there's things called acquisition fees. There's all sorts of different things. So I ended up buying with that 100,000 3 properties. So that's just the down. There was all leveraged. Yep. So I bought a 3-plex, a duplex, and a 7-plex. The 3-plex and the 7-plex were with a partner. A year later, I was able to increase the values on those enough to pull out $136,000, which was exactly enough for a 24 unit to purchase. But along the way, I had found properties. So I found a 10-unit package on Craigslist, 12 units. And it's like, there's something here. I found a partner to come in with me. Well, I found the deal. So I wrote in an acquisition fee. An acquisition fee, think of it as an agent's fee, but without your license, but it's for doing the legwork of it. So I added those fees on top of it. And then one of those properties, this was before wholesaling became illegal. Wholesaling is basically selling the paper. So say I go to you, I get you to sell me this building, at least write it up in a contract for $1 million. I find somebody that wants to purchase it at $1.5 million. I make the spread in between. Well, I did that for one of the properties in that package. It was like a 3 or 4 unit. And I think I buffered in like $25,000 there. And then plus I had like another 12 or 20 grand in acquisition fees. So that put my down payment on that. And by then I started recirculating the cash from increasing the values on these properties just over and over and over again.
Wow.
Yeah.
All with 100 grand.
All with 100 grand. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I was making some money on the property management side. So this is also like for.
Oh, you also had that.
So I had that, and you would think I was just taking money from myself, which is kind of true, but lots of these projects I had partners on. Well, a typical property management company charges 6 to 12%. I was charging 10% flat rate. So say we had, $50,000 a month in income. I was taking $5,000 off the top. Plus I was the only employee. I was doing everything. This was also with my full-time job.
Oh, so, God.
Yeah. It was psychopath. Yeah. I mean, I was working 18 hours a day. I did not take a shit without reading a book or being on the phone. Swear to God.
Wow.
For an entire year. I took actually one lunch break. That was to take my team on a Christmas dinner. Just going around listening to podcasts, reading. But yeah, I mean, that's, so I use those items, that extra income. And I realized I was only making like 85 grand a year at my IT job. So I got to like 60 grand or so. And what I saw is residual income. And I was just bitching about my job every day, bitching. And I asked my boss, I was like, hey, I want to take off next Friday to go to this conference. He said, no. I told my wife's like, are you going to quit already? She's like, are you going to do it? And she texted me that, and I was like, fuck it. I just went into his office and quit.
Hey, everybody, we're going to take a quick little break here. I want to stop and thank our new sponsor. If you're serious about getting your time back and scaling your business, then SMA Support Services is your secret weapon. I use SMA for all of our support and admin tasks. Everything from back office management, day-to-day admin, even a call center. Their team frees up my staff to stay focused on high-level, revenue-generating activities. And that, let me tell you, is a fucking game changer. SMA isn't just support. They're a partner that keeps our operations running smooth and efficiently. So if you want to focus on growing your business and leave the support work to the pros, hit up SMA Support Services.
Really?
Yeah. And I went to that conference.
And what was that conference?
Joe Fairless, some real estate.
Did you get something out of it?
I don't know. I was without a job for the first time in my life. It was amazing. So
was that feeling freeing or was it fear? Or
Dude,
both?
I think I'm still scared, to tell you the truth.
Okay. No, that's fair. I mean, I think that's a legitimate thing. Like, I think all of us that are at the end of the day, like the buck stops here type of thing. Like, I think we always live in a little bit of a state of fear, right? Because if everything fucking goes down, it's
for sure.
It's us.
Here's the realization that everybody needs to have is that the job you're doing, if you're in a W-2, one, they will replace you. You die the next day. The job posting is going to be posted 24 hours after that. Two, if you believe in yourself and this thing fails, guess what? There's another job out there for you. Right. But you know what? There is not time. There's not time to go back in time to say, I wish I woulda, I coulda.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, I think one of the biggest changes I've made in my life has been the times when I've been able to envision myself 10, 20, 30 years in the future in my same exact circumstance. And when I see that and I see what I'm currently doing, and if I don't like that's a reminder that you can choose the fork in the road. Either I continue on the current path, but I know where that's going to lead me. Mm-hmm. Like I literally know exactly where that's going to lead me because I've been living it.
Right.
But if I want to get to where I want to be, I've got to make that fucking change.
Right.
And what's the worst that happens? I got to jump back on that path.
Right.
Oh, darn. But I experienced something.
So where do you see yourself then in 20 years?
God,
how old are you?
I will be 40 in January.
Okay. All right. So
39.
A little bit younger than me. Okay.
39. Right. See, that's really difficult. I mean, we have, 135, BHAGs, et cetera.
Yeah. What's your 5?
We've got $1 billion in assets. I really think we'll be far ahead of that.
Okay.
But that doesn't even matter because I think, so many people get stuck on the unit count and all this stuff.
Yep.
Really what you should look at is what did you purchase it for? What's it going to be worth? And what do I get out of it? And I'm not saying it from a selfish standpoint, but like, what is the value that's going to be created within that?
So my brain automatically goes to, I know that if you make a decision to go do that, you'll have your billion in assets, you'll have your blah, 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 you'll have the numbers that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. But then what does that actually equate to for you though, personally?
Exactly. So that's where, I think when I started this, I had all my goals written down. And if somebody would have told me I had as many assets and just money coming in and opportunities as I do right now to 32-year-old me, I would have been like, man, beach life must be great. I'm retired. Right. I'm doing anything. Well, one, I realized that unless you're just handed a lot of money, these plates are spinning and they don't stop spinning.
Yep.
And if they do stop spinning, bad things happen.
Very bad.
So you need to keep spinning the plates, or you need to put systems, people in place to spin those plates. So that's been a realization, and that's been with me for a while. But life's about a lot more than that. I've got kids now. How can I leave an everlasting effect to have good people, raise good people? How can I have influence, positive impact on people? You mentioned health. I went through a very unhealthy phase. I gained the COVID 40, was in 2020. I add 20 plus 20, and that's how much weight I gained of pure body fat because my eye was off the ball. And I've done a lot of self-growth since then. It's hard to say, but it's just becoming a better version of myself. I mean, I know that's a pretty arbitrary thing to say, but I am diseased in the fact that I am not content. ever.
Yeah.
I don't have chill mode. I don't,
right.
I don't assimilate when people just want to talk about Husker football.
Right.
I can talk it for niceties, but that's just not interesting to me.
I mean, I enjoyed giving you shit about Denver losing.
Well, that was fucked up, man. The one game I watched this year, they get the field goal blocked. I mean,
oh God.
And I love my son because he's, I can tell I'm his hero in a lot of ways. I think I drive him nuts a lot too, but he was rooting for Denver as well. He's a 49ers fan, but he also hates the Chiefs, as many of us do. But yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, just continuing to be a better person. I think have you ever heard of the book Letting Go by David Hawkins?
I have, but I haven't read it though.
Okay, so I actually just came from a retreat in Colorado where they talk a lot about it, but it's all about understanding your emotional, physical states, and the eventual goal is to get to enlightenment, but also being present.
Yes.
For instance, we
talk about that a lot here.
Yes, yeah. So think about this, and I even think this is a really good example. I think about how I handled it this morning, which was on the lower end of the spectrum, and I can't remember what the actual spectrum's called, but like on the lowest, it's like apathy. On the highest, it's enlightenment. Through there, you go through anger, fear, to joy, love, all those things. But imagine you see a situation. Myself this morning, I walk out to a flat tire, completely flat. There's a couple different ways you could perceive this. Oh, fuck, this always happens to me. I am worthless. Why did I drive over that? The next one could be anger. Why did somebody put that nail in the road? Those assholes, I hope they have a shitty day. The next thing could be, oh, well, I guess I'm just going to have to cancel my day. Poor me. The next one is, boy, I'm glad it wasn't 2 tires. 3, man, I am so thankful I have a great wife that can take the kids to school. 5, man, I am blessed to even be in this situation. Mm-hmm. The same situation can occur, but I can there's 5 different realities that happen there. So I think, training myself to be on the higher end of that and seeing the positive in situations. World's a crazy place. It's going to continue to be a crazy place, and it's going to get even crazier. I am very much a person that thinks in the future and that history repeats itself in different senses. And I think the world's going to be in for a wild ride in the next 20, 40, 80, 100 years.
Have you heard that Chinese proverb about the Chinese farmer, and he went and put his 7 horses, his son went and put the 7 horses in the stable, blah, blah, blah. They're going to be able to sell 4 of them and still have 3 for the winter or whatever, right? And all the townsfolk came up and were like, man, that's amazing. Like, you've got these 7 horses that are great, and like, you're going to be able to sell the 4, and you guys are going to be able to have money for the winter and blah, blah, blah. And he just looks at him and he goes, maybe. And then the next day, his son breaks his leg and isn't going to be able to work, and isn't going to be able to work the horses, isn't going to be able to sell them, isn't going to be able to do anything. They're like, oh my God, you're going to lose all of your money, and like, this is going to be the end of the world for you. And he looks at him and he goes, maybe. And then the next day, the fucking Chinese government comes in because they're doing a draft and they're recruiting, but they can't take the son because he broke his leg. And they're like, oh my God, you get to keep your son, and he's not going to die, and he's not going to go to war. And his answer is, maybe. And it just continues on and on and on. And like, that's something that we talk about a lot. It's like, maybe. Like, we don't know what this situation, it just is.
Yeah.
Right? It just is. The situation is what it is. You can see it through whatever lens you want to see it through. You can see it through, fuck, my whole day's fucking ruined.
Exactly.
Like, fuck it. Just shut it down. Cancel everything. Call my assistant. Like, it's fucked. I'm going to go get drunk.
Yep.
Fuck this day. Or it is like you said, man, I'm so fortunate that I can actually get through this situation because I have all of these resources and assets and people at my disposal that care about me and want to help me. And you can see it through whatever lens you want to. You fucking choose.
Exactly.
You choose. Nobody chooses for you. You fucking choose the lens you want to see it through.
Yeah. And to your, that's such a good point. And I think it's more than ever, this, I don't know where this is coming from, but people are sucked into this, make money, get wealth, be popular, when at the end of the day, I mean, being comfortable in your own skin and living to your fullest potential, and having a lot of love for those around you, even for people that don't give you love. I think that's That's one of the biggest goals. I mean, as an individual, we can have a lot of impact on people's lives. And I think oftentimes most people choose not to because they think they've been slighted in some way. And it's not a zero-sum game. Stock trading can certainly be a zero-sum game. This is not a zero-sum game. 1 + 1 can equal 3. And I think the more that you can find opportunities to give, even just put a smile on somebody's face. After this retreat, I was like, because it was all about breaking down your emotional sense and your physical sense. Being able to, it was bringing up past trauma, but allowing yourself to work through it, and that for future trauma that you could understand. Okay, I'm feeling this emotion. That's okay, but how can I separate these things and get back to what David Hawkins says and letting go, and basically let it go. It doesn't mean that you're ignoring it, but you're recognizing it.
Yeah.
And I think if you can just focus on more of speaking your truth, being honest to yourself, being honest to those individuals around you. I mean, just in general, that's energetic. Now, if you're a shitty human being doing shitty things and you say that's the way you are, you may need to do a strong dose of psychedelics like to get yourself straight and have some inner work done. But I mean, otherwise, most people know what's right and where their true potential is. It's all that we have a lot of fear on the other side, the fear of the unknown.
The thing that I heard that really resonated with me was when you said being comfortable in your own skin. And I had such a long period of time in my life that I was not. Right. I mean, very not comfortable in my own skin. And like one of the things that I'm most proud of today is the fact that I am.
Yeah, you're a sexy son of a bitch.
Thank you. But the fact that like I'm not afraid to be exactly who I am. Right. And I don't fear the judgment anymore. Right. And that was all I did was fear how people saw me or how people perceived me. And so I felt like I had to put that mask on to either, whether it was my drinking or my drug use, and I was hiding behind that because I wanted to be able to connect to people. I thought that was how I was going to do it, because if I had more drugs than everybody else, like they'd come hang out with me so that I could have friends. And then I had to pretend to either be, a big fucking deal when I wasn't, or pretend to not be so that somebody else would like me. Right. And I think that happens a lot with people that are listening especially in business, right? Because we feel like we have to put up this facade of who we are to be able to attract whatever it is that we want. And I challenge that and say, I disagree, because I think that if you show up as exactly who you actually are and who you want to be and who you're supposed to be, whether it doesn't matter what that is, right? It's whoever you are intrinsically. If you show up as that and don't put on the mask, now all of a sudden you're going to attract the same thing, right? You're going to attract those people into your life. I think it's why you and I connected, right? Because we have a lot of the same stuff that we do in our life, right? Not because of business. Like neither of us even knew what the fuck each other did, right? Like no fucking idea. We just got to talking, and like the energy, like you attract the same energy, right?
Yes.
Somebody that's whether it's high performing or at least what's the word? But just is on a path, right? Yes. Like you surround yourself with people accidentally that are on that same path, right? Because to your point, you don't sit around and bullshit with people about, the football game, right? No. Now, I still do once in a while, but what I like doing is I like spending time.
But you do it with a different energy.
Yes.
That's the difference. It's not a shape-shifting your reality to make sure you're sitting in front of that TV slamming gears.
Correct.
You have passion behind it.
Yes, I do. And but my point of that is that now I've gotten to a place, and that you've gotten to a place in your life because of the changes that you've made, is that if you're going to surround yourself with anybody or people in general, they're going to be people that are only going to raise up your level of who you are, and so that you can do the same for them, right? I want to hang out with people. I mean, we were texting and joking, the other night, but like, I want to hang out with people where we're fucking commiserating on, okay, how do we fucking both make each other more money?
Absolutely.
Right? Like those are the people that I want, not just because I want to make more money. It's because we have the same fucking mindset of like, this is a friendship and this is a relationship, but like, what are we doing to fucking help each other on this path that we're trying to go down? And how are we making sure that I'm putting people into your life that are going to do the same thing and you're doing the same thing for me? Now, what that does is it makes your circle smaller. Which is fan-fucking-tastic.
Absolutely.
And if you don't think it is, you just haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't want 1,000 friends.
No. Oh my God, you don't. But you think in the beginning when you start going down this journey that is what you're judged on. It's like, look at all my friends. I have a shitload of acquaintances and people that I like and I'll talk to for 5 minutes on the phone or whatever. I have a very small group of people that I'm like, yes, I'll block out 2 hours to go hang out and have lunch with you.
For sure.
Like, very fucking small.
And those people typically aren't trying to take something from you.
Right.
They're trying to add, they're trying to be a multiplier. You know, I have a friend and
multiplier. That's a good word.
It was really interesting. And he brought this term up to me and I was like, you ever meet some people and you're like, they say all the right things. Yes. They seem to be perfect, but you're just like, I just can't put my finger on it. And what my buddy said, he was like, do you ever get like cognitive disassociation when you're in a conversation? Meaning that somebody's talking, but all of a sudden it just like static goes across your brain where you're like, hey, the energy's not there. There's something missing. And what I've realized that, and you should trust your gut, is almost every single time that person is scheming or is acting in their own self-interest or has that mask on and is trying to portray something, trying to be something else. And I have been paying very, very specific attention to that recently of like these people that, resumes, but everything is perfect. But there's just something in the way they speak, how they speak. And then almost every single time there was an angle that they were coming from to benefit themselves. And it's, learning to trust that in yourself. And to your point, like people being real, being authentic. And I think I was telling you this, and I heard this from an individual. I think Gary Brecka did the studies that most powerful energy. So I was asked this question, what do you think the most powerful energy is? And I said, love. Love's a very powerful energy, but it's shown that authenticity is 5x of that, that they've shown scans. I don't know if it's
I saw that clip.
But yes, and there's something to be said about that. And I think for any individual, as long as you're authentic, but you have to be careful because once again, if you're just authentically a piece of shit,
right,
you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
But then surround yourself with more pieces of shit.
More pieces of shit. And that's where habits are so important. I have realized that more than ever because it's, how do you need an elephant one bite at a time? People trying to get in business, real estate, et cetera. Man, we're flying through this.
We're good.
People, getting into like, oh, I don't even know where to start. Okay. And this is, I've got this, I didn't realize, but it was a 4-step process that I followed when I first started. The first thing was get up early. And when you do get up early, the first thing you're going to do, the absolute first thing is you're throwing your earbuds in or you're reading something. You are not allowing your monkey brain to take over because it's full of self-doubt. It's full, you're in the morning, you're typically just a little slower. You're like, I don't want to get up. It's dark and gloomy outside. I didn't get much sleep. If you can just tell your mind, F no, that's not what we're doing today, throw that in. Second thing, get to the gym. I don't care if you like to work out at night, do some sort of physical activity in the morning. What's so powerful about that, when I was trying to get out of my job, I had an 8:30 a.m. meeting. The entire meeting was to discuss the previous night's complaints and issues. So the first meeting of the day, and the guy who ran it was an ex-Marine and just, bleh, bleh. Everybody shows up with their Mountain Dews, donuts, and it's just problems and finger pointing.
And nobody fucking wants to be there.
Nobody fucking wants to be there. I had just come from listening to podcasts, doing my morning shit, CrossFit. And I'm like, I'm fucking taking on the day. Like, you guys have all your problems given to me. Like, right. I see these as opportunities. The next thing is changing your state. Yep. So I am I could probably go and be a ice bath and sauna salesperson for how actually so enthusiastic I am about it, but it changes your state. And people get into these ruts. I mean, it's similar with drug addicts. It's similar with all these things. You're just stuck in this state. If you can change your state, move to a different place, do something new, it is one of the most powerful things. So I think you got to try something new every day. It could be the smallest thing. You could call somebody and have a different type of conversation with them. And the next thing, and this is like part of a 30-day process, and I've actually given this to a few people, is you stack those on top of each other. So specifically for real estate. So say you want to just build up your foundation in 30 days. So you start off, you get up, you put something positive in your head, you go to the gym, you try something new. The fourth one, which is absolutely the hardest, it is incredibly difficult to do. But if you do it, I promise you, you will succeed at anything you want in life, is you stack those on top of each other. So day one, you call an agent. Day two, you call an agent and underwrite a deal. Day three, you call an agent, you underwrite a deal, and you go tour a house, whatever it is, and you stack those till you have 30 new things. Some of it could be doing 50 push-ups, whatever it is, you stack those disciplines into your life, you will be a different person. Mm-hmm. So many people get up, eat the same shitty breakfast because they were told to eat a shitty breakfast that's full of carbohydrates and poisons, then to go to their job, they go to their lunch break, eat crappy food that they probably don't even need to eat because they're probably not hungry, but they're trained to do that. Go home, have some menial conversations, get upset, watch the TV, and go to bed.
Ooh, that sounds nice.
It does sound fucking nice. And I'll tell you what,
I mean, I'm being sarcastic.
When I do have those opportunities, it's amazing. But that becomes the treat, because that is a change of state.
Yeah.
For me and you, that is a change of state to sit around and be a piece of shit all day.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome.
I'm not good at that.
No, I'm not good at it either.
It fucks with your head, doesn't it?
Oh, it's bad. Like, so I love video games.
Do you really?
Oh, I absolutely love them. I play once every 2-3 months. But like, I'll like sector off some time and I'll play 3-4 hours, and dude, I'm a dystopian motherfucker after that. It's not a good place. Like, I gotta quit. Really? Yeah, because I'm always antsy for the next thing.
My brain gets fucked up on the weekend if I don't have something planned, and I'm literally sitting like in a chair and I'm looking at Tegan and I'm looking at Natalie and I'm like, we got soccer, or do we have like, what do we got going on? Like, we got nothing today. And other people, to your point, are like, we got nothing today. And I'm like, fuck, we got nothing today.
Yeah.
Like,
I got to go move.
I got to go do something. Like, I'm going to go to the office for like 3 hours because
the dog
like
needs to be walked.
I'll figure something out. Like, that drives me nuts. One thing that I wanted to go back to real quick, and I've been holding this thought in my brain because I think it's really, really, really important, is what you were talking about when you're around these people and you get these gut feelings about them. Right. And it hits me because I've got a story. Do you mind if I tell a story real quick, Collin? Okay, great.
I love it. Story time.
So, a lot of people know this story, but this was back in 2019, 2020. I got introduced to this fucking piece of shit in Florida. And I had a bunch of people like, hey, you should go buy this company down in Florida. You've got all this amazing insurance experience. Like, you know how to work this. This guy has this company that's starting to go under because he couldn't pay his bills, but he doesn't know how to work insurance. You go buy it. You can turn it around. Just buy his debt. That's how you can get the company, because it's really hard to get a license in Florida and all. Like, it made perfect sense. So I went down and I met this guy a couple of times. I had to move quick because there was like some lien situations that had to get paid off. So I didn't do full due diligence, right? And ended up buying it. Fast forward, and I did not have a lot of money. Okay. I leveraged my house, leveraged everything that I had. And after 6 months, 8 months, I was in for over $500,000. And I found out that he was selling jobs, stealing the deposits, and not building the roofs, and basically stole $500,000 from me.
And this is why you owned it, but he was still like helping to operate it?
I was using him as production.
Okay.
I was using him because he knew production in Florida.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
I know how to produce $20,000 out of thin air.
Right. Yeah, he was really good at that. And so I had always been very proud of the fact that, like, I felt like I could read people fairly well, right? And like I could tell if you were a piece of shit, or if you weren't. Like I felt like I was really fucking good at that.
Yeah.
And this guy got me.
Yeah.
And he got me for half. I got really lucky. Like I got out of it. I Jedi mind tricked him into taking me off of the name and sun biz, you know, down there and everything. And like, so I didn't get sued.
Include like a baseball bat or like
it almost did.
Yeah.
Like I told him I was gonna burn his fucking house down if he didn't do it.
Yeah.
But like, so I got it done. So I got out, but I was still money out that I didn't have, right? I did not have $500,000 laying around. And it took me 3-4 years to like pay myself back, right? From all that. And what I didn't see coming was the change that it had in me mentally, because now I didn't trust any decision that I made, because that one was such a big decision, and I trusted my decision-making process of trusting this guy and buying his shit and working with him, that I had to go to my coach, and it probably took me 8-9 months of like constant work with my coach to retrain my brain, to trust my decisions, and how to learn to identify that feeling that you get. Because like you made it very general of like, you know, you get that gut feeling, right?
Yeah.
I went through situations.
Cognitive dissonance.
Yep. I went through stuff with my coach where I would have to sit there and start to identify where I feel it in my body, right?
Yeah.
When I'm talking to somebody, it's like, oh, my arm hurts or my
throat
hurts or what it is, right? And I had to start figuring out what that was, because I'd just be talking to you and I'd be like, I don't fucking know. I don't know. I don't know how to feel. I don't know.
So going back, I mean, hindsight's always the best game to play. But hindsight with what you know now, excluding him in your relationship, do you think there were some signs there that you could have picked up on?
100%. Yes.
Isn't there? It's always like that. So
because he was saying all the right things, like you said, right? Like he was playing into my recovery background.
Yeah.
Right. He was like, oh, I used to have a problem. I used to have a pill problem, and I've been clean for 2 years now.
And you're just like, yeah,
and I'm
me
like,
too.
yeah, right.
We hit it off.
I want to help you down this journey and like save you from all your bad decisions.
Yeah.
Like he knew he was like a con fucking man. Yeah. No, looking back, yes.
Yeah. Isn't it disturbing how gosh, I'm trying to figure out the way to break some of those people down. One is like, you can't play into that game, but I feel like there's got to be a way to throw them off, to like, you know, kind of jumble the box or something.
Oh, for sure.
Get them off. So curious, what were some of the things that your coach had?
Well, what I worked on with my coach was for me, just to like get me okay again, right? Because like I didn't believe that my wife even trusted me to make a decision anymore, because I took fucking all this money that we didn't have, and now we were.
She give you $50 at the beginning of the week and say, "This."
Yeah, I mean that was how I felt, right? Like that was 100% how I felt, and like I think that was worse than anything else, right? Like that was worse, and that took a long time. I don't know how long it took her, but I know how long it took me to overcome that. I think what I learned from it is learning how to ask better questions, right? I think if there's a lesson there, it's I went in, everybody goes into shit with eyes fucking like excited, right? And doesn't slow down because they think everything has to happen so fast, right? Yeah. Ask the right questions so that you can make the right decisions. And when you ask those questions, you're going to get the feedback that they're not prepared to even give you.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy? You don't want, like, especially me, I grew up an only child, spent a lot of time by myself. And like, I moved from Rhode Island to New Mexico, which was a big culture shift. I was in 5th grade. So like, all I wanted to do was be liked, like, meaning that, hey, you basically start going along with things. You start changing who you actually are. You can be a chameleon. So, because you want to fit in. And I feel like some of those situations, especially when you either have empathy or you feel that there's an opportunity, et cetera, you start to become that chameleon. You have these lingering questions in the background, but you're almost already giving yourself the answer of like, oh, it's going to be fine. When, to your point, if you actually ask that question, you could get a completely different answer. That's going to be the telltale sign. And it's uncomfortable to ask those questions. I mean, I don't know if it was you and I talking about this, but how much do you learn from winning?
Yep, absolutely fucking nothing.
No, you learn it's fucking fun to win.
Well, sure. Yeah. Fair
it's
point.
A blast to win.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do that again.
Yep.
I want to do that again. What do you learn from losing? This sucks. But what do you really learn from it is all the things you missed, all the questions you didn't ask, just every other piece where you could have been better prepared. Maybe you went into the situation and you shouldn't have been in that situation to begin with because you weren't prepared enough as an individual to take on something like that.
Yep. But here's what separates everybody is what do you do with it?
Exactly.
Right? Because everybody might learn the lesson, but do they take action from the fucking lesson to make a change and then go do it again?
Yeah, the guy with 6 DUIs.
Right.
Yeah.
But like he knows what not to do.
Yeah.
But he continues to do the same fucking thing. And in business, I think it can be just as crippling because you do get afraid to go make decisions again if you but if you reframe it like you talked about in the beginning of okay, I'm not starting over. I'm starting so far ahead because now I know the answers to all these fucking questions, right? Of what not to do. So I'm not even starting from 0. I'm starting at fucking 50.
Yeah, you paid for your tuition.
100%, right? Yeah, I had a $500,000 tuition.
Yeah, you got a Harvard education.
And that was what I told everybody. I was like, that was a really expensive session at school.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot from it, right? I learned like if I ever go buy another business again, or I'll never partner with anybody, but like if I was ever going to do that, like I know the right questions to ask. I know the right things to put in contracts. Yeah. I know not to do a stock sale and do a fucking asset sale. I know not to, you know what I mean? But like, I'll be like, I didn't even know what the fuck those words were.
Exactly.
When I was doing it, right? I was just like, I can fucking do it.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of money.
I'm
like
smart.
I'm smart. I'll figure it out.
I haven't lost.
Yeah. So, man, there's so much to learn from that.
Yeah. I mean,
so much to learn from that.
Yeah, bad partnerships will teach you a lot of things.
100%. Okay, so as we wrap up, what I always do in these in our episodes
burpees
is
for time. 100 burpees.
Yeah, you want to? No, I don't. I always give the floor back to the guest for the last 2 or 3 minutes because a lot of times somebody will come in with something they want to say that they definitely had on their mind that they wanted to get out, or B, we started something that I diverted us because I go down rabbit holes and didn't get a finish. So I always want to give the guest the opportunity to land the plane before we're done. Or just something you want to leave people with.
What do I want to leave people with? Well, it's just my favorite quote, so I'll start here and maybe this will bring something. So the book Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. Okay. Yeah. If you haven't read it, have you read it?
I haven't.
Okay. It's by far my favorite book.
Okay.
I listen to it 3 times a year at least. And it is Phil Knight's life from a young individual, not the greatest track individual to becoming, this behemoth in the world. And his track coach constantly has this quote, and he repeats it to himself over and over again. And I actually have it on my wall. And it says, "The cowards never started, the weak died along the way. And that leaves us, ladies and gentlemen." And what I think's really powerful about that, and it really gives you a lens into the world, is the cowards are, and I hope not to come off wrong, and I am being authentic, which I don't want it to come off wrong, because some people are very comfortable in their W-2s or doing certain things. However, most people I talk to are fucking miserable in it. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say it, those are the cowards that haven't believed in themselves to actually go do something and be them true selves. The weak died along the way. I've been in situations, you just explained your situation, where you probably want to crawl under a rock and die, where you're like, how do I start this over? This fucking sucks. I don't want to be part of this. And then that leaves us. And I think the lesson in that is that 1, you can do it. 2, it's going to be hard and you're going to have to keep pushing through it. And that's part of the journey. And 3, once you get to the other side, it's just the most freeing, fulfilling thing and the greatest brotherhood. But like, it's one of those things that actually creates like true feeling of accomplishment in your life. You can, the years I worked for other people, it just, and there's great organizations out there, and there's some that I've worked for that I actually enjoyed. Hy-Vee was actually a job I really liked. But if you're not going to take that leap, like, time is ticking. Time is moving forward, whether you want it or not. Mm-hmm. There's going to be pain and discomfort. And I think that's what people are afraid of. They are afraid of the discomfort the next 2, 3, 5 years of building that business is going to be. It's going to be hard. I did not see my daughter for the first year. I saw her. Mm-hmm. I was never present. Never. And I get a lot of different reactions when people hear that. Like, oh, is that, selfish, or is that terrible? Or how do you feel about that now? Would you have done the same thing? And the truth is I would have done the same thing, because that 1 year I sacrificed has allowed me to be at every sporting event,
right,
be with her all the time.
Yep.
And I think, going back to my original point about being able to see the future and your current path versus this alternate you, is that you really have to put yourself in the future version, because regardless, you're going to be in the future at some point. God willing, you don't get hit by a bus, but the time will be where you will be 10 years older. All that pain that you've endured doesn't matter at that point, because you're in that present point. So if you can just suck it up and go through those motions and actually embrace the changes, you will be such a different person on the other end. And I even have to remind myself of that now, because you start to get comfortable. I mean,
we all have to.
There was years into this when I started gaining weight. I was like, oh, made a couple $1 million. I've got this. I was popular, and I was like, fucking hit it. Who cares? So did I get a little fat? I'm successful. Right. Whatever. That's not the case. We are always on this journey for growth and getting better. And I just, I'm saying it to myself, but to other individuals, work on those small daily habits and the way you think, and you'll be a different person, and your life can exponentially change. Where I come from, where I grew up, I am an anomaly. Mm-hmm. This is not normal. Mm-hmm. Now I hang out with guys and gals that this is normal.
Normal, yeah.
It is normal. Yep. Where I'm not trying to put myself on this pedestal, but it is hard to remember what it's like to have those issues and problems. But I really feel that if you can just create these little disciplines, even the smallest discipline in your life, it can have the most massive change. I mean, it's the exponential theory. It's going to be slow. It's going to be slow. It's going to be slow. And then it's going to hit. Yep. And then you're going to be there.
Yep.
So,
yep. No, I love that, man. And what I want to say to you is thank you, because I've been on this same path of personal growth and business development and all these different things that I've been doing over the last 6, 7, 8 years. And we all get to that weird kind of point where, like you said, you get a little stagnant. You feel like you hit a plateau, and you're looking for that next thing, and you're looking for that next person to be around, whatever it is that kind of get. And honestly, meeting you and us getting to have conversations together has reinvigorated, my brain. Right. Awesome. And I just wanted to say thank you publicly for that, because I truly appreciate that when you get to surround yourself with people that remind you why you're doing the shit that you do. Right. And I hope that I do that for other people. Right.
Well, I can tell you that you've done it. And, I know I've kind of mentioned this to you, but I have gone, today's day 32 without alcohol, which is the longest since I had my first drink at the age of 16.
Love that.
And it's because, we started talking and I started thinking about it. And, it's been something I'm so busy in life, and I realized that this is the governor that's been put on me, and I was able to push through it for a while. I'm a freak of nature in that way. I can still go do CrossFit, everything, but it's being surrounded by individuals like you that have pushed through those things and, have come out the other side. You've helped me in that aspect of something that I've been, trying to eliminate for a long time. So I appreciate it.
Look at us helping each other.
Yeah,
Fucking
exactly.
Let's go.
Exactly. Now let's go make shit tons of money.
Let's go make a bunch of money now. Collin, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Remember, this episode sponsored by SMA Support Services. If you don't have any VAs inside of your company and you need help back-end work, accounting, call centers, call-in adjusters, whatever it is that you do, you got to check out SMA Support Services. Hit me up. I'll connect you with the guys over there to get you set up with them. But they are the title sponsor of this because I use them. I align with them. They're extremely amazing fucking humans. And I wouldn't work with anybody else in the industry other than SMA Support Services. So that being said, other sponsor is Cult Culture Movement. So Cult Culture Movement, if you're looking for an accountability group to be around like-minded people, men only right now. We don't have any women in there. I think it's probably because of me. But if you're looking for an accountability group and some group coaching to be around those kind of people to hold yourself to a different standard, check out CCM, Cult Culture Movement. It's cultcultureprogram.com. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. And remember to be authentic or get the fuck out.
Yeah, get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out if you can't be authentic. Get the fuck out if you can't be authentic. Yeah.